In this video, we're reviewing the new GoPro HERO4 cameras. We're going to look at both the black and silver editions, compare them to each other, compare the differences, and then we'll put them head to head against the older but still very epic GoPro HERO3 Plus Black Edition. Included with the GoPro HERO4 Black is, of course, the camera, the standard housing, which is waterproof to 40 meters, a skeleton back door, which will allow for better audio, the rechargeable battery, a curved adhesive mat, a flat adhesive mount, a quick release buckle, the 3-way pivot arm, and, of course, the USB cable for charging. The HERO4 Silver includes all the same things as the Black, plus the addition of a touch back door, which is waterproof to only 3 meters. So it includes the one solid back door, good to waterproof to 40 meters, the vented or the skeleton back door, and then the touch back door, which is slightly waterproof. The HERO4 Black no longer includes the Wi-Fi remote. The Wi-Fi remote has been redesigned and now has 3 buttons instead of 2. However, the old Wi-Fi remote still works. It just lacks the function of the multi-purpose button. The new cameras are slightly heavier than the older HERO3 Plus, with the Black weighing in at 88 grams out of the case and 152 grams in the case. The Silver, 83 grams out of the case, 147 grams in the case. This is about 10 grams more than the HERO3 Plus, which weighs in at 74 grams naked and 136 grams in the case. Both cameras can record on up to 64GB micro SD cards. In terms of specs, the HERO4 Black can shoot 4K at 30 frames per second, 2.7K at 60 frames per second, 1080p at 120 frames per second, 12 megapixel photos, and it can do 30 photos in a 1 second burst. And it also has the new addition of night lapse and night photo modes. The HERO4 Silver can shoot 4K at 15 and 2.7K at 30, two resolutions which are not widely advertised on the GoPro website, and something that are really important and definitely keep in mind. So yes, the HERO4 Silver can shoot 4K at 15, which isn't that usable, but it does shoot 2.7K at 30, which is great for scaling down to 1080p to make sure you get a really crystal clear shot, or shooting 2.7K at 30 and then being able to stabilize your image because you've got a little bit of extra resolution to play with. It too shoots 12 megapixel photos, and it can also do that 30 photo in 1 second burst, and it also has the night photo and night lapse modes. Now, the big point that needs to be discussed is an LCD screen on the back of the HERO4 Silver. LCD screens are something that a lot of GoPro competitors have been implementing, and it can be handy while setting up the camera or framing shots. However, I have mixed feelings about this screen. On the one hand, having it on the camera will make setup much easier and allow you to frame your shots, but the screen is still small and not as responsive as that of a flagship smartphone, only working with certain backdoors and not working underwater. It is easier to set up your camera using your phone, and with a lot of mounts such as helmet mounting, you will not be able to see the screen. The wide-angle lens is so wide that you really don't need the LCD screen in order to make sure you're getting everything in the shot. With all of this in mind, the LCD screen is a great addition to the GoPro and will make setting up and using the camera easier. However, not having it will not be the end of the world. The Wi-Fi app adds more utility than the screen, works with all GoPro cameras, and allows you to frame shots even when the back of the camera is out of reach. Do not think, though, that I'm letting GoPro off the hook for the omission of the LCD screen from the HERO4 Black. First, before anyone says that it's impressive that GoPro managed to fit an LCD screen onto the back of the camera, keep in mind that Apple can put a cell phone, camera, battery, and screen into a housing only 6.9 millimeters thick. I think the lack of the LCD screen on the HERO4 Black is a glaring omission and leaves the consumer in a very tricky spot, having to pick between the performance of the Black and the convenience of the Silver. Battery life is such a critical point, it deserves its own section in this video. As most of you know, the HERO4 comes with a new battery, and with this new battery come high expectations. I tested all the cameras using the same resolution as always, 1080p 60 fps with Wi-Fi and ProTune turned off. The results are the HERO4 Black 1 hour and 11 minutes, the HERO4 Silver 1 hour and 37 minutes with the LCD screen off. In comparison, the HERO3 Plus could get 1 hour and 35 minutes, and the HERO3 1 hour and 9 minutes. Both of those were Black editions. This step backwards in performance hardly seems to justify the new battery design. The audio has also been improved and now apparently has 2 times the dynamic range of the previous best-selling camera. That really begs the question, what was the previous best-selling camera? I'm assuming it was something like the silver or the white. I bet you it was a silver edition. And yeah, so it's apparently 2 times better than that. And we'll switch between the cameras here, and you can kind of listen to each one of them. And then I'll switch back and forth a couple times between the HERO4 Black as well as the HERO3 Plus Black. So I've got all 3 of the cameras recording right now, and we'll jump between them, and you guys can see if you can pick out a difference. But listen for a dynamic range. That'll be higher highs and lower lows coming from the GoPro Hero 4. Now let's move on to video quality. We'll first compare all 3 cameras with ProTune off at 1080p 30 frames per second, and then we'll zoom into 500%. Then we'll up the resolution and turn on ProTune, so we're now shooting 2.7K at 30, and again we'll zoom in to 500%. I'm leaving it up to you to draw your own conclusions about the video, but the one thing you will notice is that the way the new GoPro Hero 4s handle ProTune does look a fair bit different than that of the Hero 3 Plus. And again, these are just standard. I've reset both cameras to base settings, so I haven't programmed these cameras at all. These are straight out of the box. This is the default settings of all of these cameras. I think the Hero 3 Plus has slightly less sharpening going on, but I think the new Hero 4s do have a little bit more image processing and image sharpening going on in that ProTune image. Again, if you're unable to see the differences, you can check out the raw video files, which I've dragged directly from the camera and posted onto Google Drive. So those are linked in the video description. And if you want to really check out what these cameras can do, download those files and watch them yourself, because that's really the only way you'll be able to get an idea of the real quality that these cameras can shoot. The videos on YouTube are highly compressed, so make sure if you guys really want to see what these cameras can do, check out those video files. The new Hero 4s support ProTune for photos. What does this mean? Well, it's kind of like a raw file from a DSLR. It contains more dynamic range, which means you have a little bit more latitude in post over what your image will look like. To test this, I took photos from the same subject with each of the cameras. You can see the photos from the Hero 4 look a little bit more flat out of the camera, but next we'll apply some editing to the 3 photos, and when we compare these, we'll see that these photos from the Hero 4 stand up much better. Now, these are very extreme edits, but it does give you the idea that there's a little bit more data in the Hero 4 images than those images taken by the Hero 3. The other new feature we need to cover is the new night mode, which allows you to take up to 10-second long exposures. This opens up some more creative possibilities, allowing you to take some amazing night shots with your GoPro. A photo from the Hero 3 in this same light is basically completely unusable. I didn't even bother posting it because it's just completely black. Long exposures mean you can also use your GoPro Hero 4 for light painting. I also need to say that all of these test shots were taken from a tripod. This new night mode will only work when your camera is solidly mounted. If you try to use this feature freehand, you'll get some very, very blurry results. This mode can also be used for shooting night lapses or nighttime time lapses. Now, I haven't been able to test this yet because it's been cloudy, but this will be really cool because it will allow you to shoot time lapses of stars moving across the sky. It's conclusion time, and this one's a tricky one. I think we'll begin by comparing the Hero 4 with the Hero 3 Plus and try to answer the question, is it worth upgrading? Well, unless you know you want 4K at 30 FPS or night lapse modes, I don't think it is. While there have been upgrades in resolution at the very top end, the quality doesn't really seem to have been improved a substantial amount. Now let's face the tricky question. Should you get a silver or invest the extra $100 in a black and live without the LCD screen? The silver has the LCD screen, but the black has usable 4K, 120 frame per second slow motion, and of course a $100 premium. To me, I think I would tend towards the black, but that's only because I have a lot of experience setting up and framing shots without the screen and have the computer hardware necessary to edit and deal with 4K files. If you are planning to play back and edit video on anything short of a $2,500 workstation, 4K video files will be 1, almost unplayable, and 2, extremely time consuming to edit and render. 4K is still very much a niche market product. The only other unique feature of this camera is 1080p 120 frames per second, but you can do 60 frames per second on the silver, and with frame interpolation software you can get pretty slow with that as well. The conclusion then comes out like this. If the HERO4 Black is for you, you already know it. You were jumping for joy when the first rumor came out about 30 frame per second 4K in a $500 camera, and if this is you, you should order it today and you'll be really happy with the camera. But for the rest of you who tend to gravitate towards premium products but do not have the necessary hardware to deal with 4K video, I have to point you in the direction of the silver. The only feature you would gain by moving to the black is 1080p 120 frame per second video, but you lose the convenience of the screen on the back of the camera, an extra 40 or 30 minutes of recording on the battery, plus $100. If this still has not convinced you, download the raw files straight from the camera, which are linked in the video description, and have a friend start them playing for you so you don't know which camera shot them. I bet you can't tell the difference. This concludes my very first ever in-depth camera review. Both were great, but I think the silver is a more compelling product for the majority of users. If you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure you check out my channel, like the video, and subscribe. If you have any friends who are looking into getting a GoPro, please make sure you share this video with them. And if you're thinking of purchasing one, check out the pricing and availability links down below. And if you're going to buy one, if you could click my Amazon link down there first, that means I would get a small kickback when you purchase it, and that really goes a long way in helping me continue to bring you guys this kind of content. Until next time, thank you very, very much for watching.